The first night my husband hit me. I wasn't even shouting when I asked him about the other woman. I just wanted to know why he was cheating on me, but he snapped, and before I knew it, his hand came across my face so hard that I stumbled into a table. My knees hit the floor, and I remember the taste of blood in my mouth. He stood over me, chest heaving, yelling about how I was disrespecting him in his own house, the same house I helped him build, brick by brick, from nothing. I just lay there holding my face in pain, while staring at the man I once loved more than myself, treat me like trash. I remember thinking, this can't be Marcus. But it was. I met Marcus during my second year in college. He wasn't the kind of guy that stood out at first glance. There was nothing about him that screamed, look at me, but there was something peaceful about him. The first day we met, I was sitting under a tree reading, when he walked up to me to ask if he could borrow a pencil quickly. He had this shy smile, like he wasn't used to talking to girls. When he returned the pencil, we talked for a bit, and after that, we stumbled on each other again, and became friends from there. My friends couldn't understand it when we started dating. They thought I was crazy for dating someone who didn't even own a decent pair of shoes. They called him Project Boyfriend, but I didn't care. Marcus made me laugh, made me feel seen. He was kind, respectful, and always made time for me. I didn't need anything more than that. My parents were another story. My dad nearly lost it when he found out I was seeing him because Marcus came from a poor family. His mother was a tailor, and his dad had left when he was little. My dad said I was throwing away my future on someone who could never match my background. He wanted me with someone stable, someone who could take care of me. But I didn't want to be taken care of. I wanted to build something real. So I made a choice during my final year, even though I feel stupid thinking back now. I just packed my bags one morning, left a note for my parents, and moved in with Marcus. He was living in a run-down apartment that he could barely afford to pay for. The place always smelled bad during midday from the toilet's broken pipe, but it felt like home because it was ours. The first night, we slept on a thin mattress on the floor, holding hands, whispering about the future like two fools in love. Life wasn't easy, and there were so many nights we went to bed hungry, but we made it work. Marcus never complained. He'd go to classes during the day and work construction shifts at night. I picked up tutoring jobs to help pay rent. I used to enjoy watching him sleep, exhausted but peaceful, and I'd feel proud. Proud of the man he was trying to become, proud to be by his side. I'd whisper promises to him that I'd never give up on us, no matter how hard it got. 4 years later, I got pregnant. It wasn't planned, plus we were barely surviving, and the news scared us both. There were complications, but we couldn't even afford hospital visits. I sat in that small clinic, embarrassed when the nurse told us the bill. Marcus looked so defeated that I lied when he asked if I was hungry, and I said I wasn't, just so we could save for medicine. It was my mom who later came through for me in secret and sent me money behind my dad's back. Still, Marcus came home with that tired smile, rubbing my belly and talking to our unborn baby like we were already living the dream. When our daughter Lily was born, we had nothing but love. A year later, things started to change. He got a small job at a local construction company, then a bigger one with an architectural firm. His talent and dedication paved more ways, and slowly, the contracts started coming. The late nights turned into business meetings, the broken-down car became a used Toyota and then a new one. We even moved into a better apartment. In the evenings, I'd help him go over blueprints and client notes. I made sure I wasn't just his wife, that I was both his partner and his cheerleader. 3 years after Lily was born, we had our sweet boy Zane. 5 years later, his firm landed a huge contract that became the turning point. The money started coming in. Real money. Suddenly, Marcus was the man everyone wanted to know. He'd travel and come home with gifts for me. When it became too much that they couldn't fit into my closet, I tried to stop him, but he'd say, "You've been my pillar, my love, you deserve this." I won't lie, those were good years. He treated me like a queen. He'd randomly surprise me with weekend trips and called me my lucky charm in front of people. Even the people who used to pity us started calling me lucky. That was how we built everything from the ground up. Every single thing we had came from sweat, sacrifice, and stubborn faith. I believed that meant something. I believed we were unbreakable. So if someone had told me then that one day, this same man would make me regret every sacrifice, I would have laughed. Because Marcus wasn't like those other men. At least that's what I thought back then. Years folded over other years like pages. 15 of them felt like both a novel and a single photograph. The small changes started happening. At first, I thought it was just work because Marcus had taken on a bigger project at the firm, and his hours stretched longer than usual. He'd come home late, his shoulders slumped from exhaustion. I would have dinner waiting, the kids already tucked into bed so we can spend time together, but he'd just kiss my forehead and mumble, "I'm sorry babe," and disappear into the shower. I didn't think much of it then. We'd both worked hard to get here, so if he was working late it was because he wanted more for us. That's what I told myself. But then nothing changed. He stopped asking how my day went, stopped noticing when I made my nails or new hair. There were mornings he'd leave without kissing me goodbye, claiming he didn't want to wake me. It just felt like he was there, yet so far away. One night I decided I wanted to address things, so I called him to say I was making dinner, but he didn't pick up, so I left 2 messages. After I'd finished grading my students' essays, I made his favorite pasta, set the table, dressed sexy for him and lit the candles. When he walked in, I approached him and said softly, "Dinner's ready." But he barely looked at me. "I already ate," he said, dropping his keys on the counter. "We ordered takeout at work. I told you I'd be late." He hadn't told me anything. I felt my heart squeeze painfully as I angrily cleaned up the table after he went upstairs. I tried not to cry, but the tears came anyways, burning my eyes as I placed back dishes no one had touched. That night I felt like I was sharing a bed with a stranger, but I consoled myself that it would get better, that we'd find our way back to each other. But that was just the beginning of the distance. What shocked me the most was our 16th wedding anniversary. Marcus used to make me feel like a teenager all over again on our anniversaries, but this time, no flowers, no dinner, no gifts. He even left for work earlier than usual. I waited, thinking maybe he'd planned something late, maybe a surprise like the old days, but he didn't even remember. I ended up sitting alone on the couch that night, waiting for a husband that was running late. When he came home past midnight, his breath smelled of alcohol, so I asked him if he remembered what day it was, and he just brushed me off. "I've had a long day, Nina, don't start." That was the first time he ever called me Nina, in that irritated tone. He used to say my name like something he cherished. I just smiled, pretending it didn't sting, and went to bed. I kept making excuses for him that I told myself that once work slowed down, he'd come back to me. But deep down, a small voice whispered that I was lying to myself, and that voice got louder with time. Little things like a faint smell of perfume on his shirt that wasn't mine or his, the phone calls he took outside, weekends he said he was working late, but never looked tired when he returned increased my suspicion. So one Thursday evening, I decided to put myself out of my misery. Marcus said he'd be late again, no surprise there, but that night, something inside me told me to check. So I drove to his company and waited outside, then I called his office. The line rang for a while before a young female voice answered. She confirmed he was still at the office, so I waited at a distance. When he came out, his car left through a direction that didn't lead to the house, as I quietly followed. I didn't know what I would discover, but I kept praying that my guts were wrong. Then his car parked outside a hidden hotel on the other side of town, the kind of place people go when they want to hide. I waited for such a long time that I almost gave up when I saw him coming out. But he wasn't alone. A young woman walked beside him, laughing softly, holding his arm like she owned it. They looked happy. She said something that made him laugh and stopped to give her a light peck. Something he hadn't done for me in a year. That moment broke me. I just sat there, crying quietly in the car, my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly for support. When he came home later that night, I was waiting by the door. "You're still up?" he asked, uninterested. I didn't answer. I just said, "Where were you, Marcus?" "Work ran late," he replied nonchalantly. I laughed bitterly. "Don't lie, I saw you with her." His expression changed instantly, not to guilt or shame, rather it seemed he was mad that I'd caught him. "Well, now you know, Nina," he said, walking past me, "so stop overreacting." I've never felt that angry and insulted in my entire life. So I followed him. "You think I'm overreacting? Marcus. How long have you been doing this to me?" He turned to me, obviously irritated. "You're making it sound worse than it is. It's nothing serious, I'm just having fun." I felt my chest tighten. "You call that fun?" He sighed, like I was exhausting him. "Nina, listen, you have everything you need. A home, kids, comfort. You don't lack anything, I just need my space and some excitement. I stared at him, unable to believe the words coming out of his mouth. So that's it? I should just accept it? He shrugged again. You've got the life most women would kill for, so stop complaining. At least you know I'll always come back to you. The way he said it like he was doing me a favor made something inside me die. Marcus, you will lose me if you keep up this way, I promised him. He only laughed dryly. You're not leaving, Nina. You wouldn't even know where to start without me. I call the shots here. He walked away, leaving me standing there in the cold silence. The next morning, I packed a small bag and took the kids to my parents' house, even though I hadn't been there in years, not since I left to start a life with Marcus. My father had forgiven me long ago, especially after he saw how far Marcus had come, but I didn't want him to know what was happening. So I told only my mom. She listened calmly before she said something that stuck with me. It's okay if you still want to fight for your home, Nina. But you need to know when to walk away. There's no shame in choosing yourself. But while we were there, Marcus barely called. When he did, it was only to ask where something he couldn't find was. Whenever I asked if he missed us, he'd say, I know you're fine. After a week, I couldn't take it anymore, so I went back home. That night, I confronted him again, managing to keep a low voice, but he ignored all my venting. You are ungrateful, Marcus, I told him. You're wicked. I gave up everything for you, I built with you, and this is how you repay me? He stood up quickly, his face cold. Nina, that woman makes me feel alive, deal with it. My heart twisted painfully. Alive? You're calling betrayal being alive? He moved toward the door, and I stepped in front of him. No, you're not walking out on me again. His eyes darkened. Nina, move. I stood my ground. No. You're not leaving this house tonight. You'll sit down and explain what I did to deserve this. Get out of the way. Or what? I asked him angrily. Is this what you've become, Marcus? A shameless gigolo? I wasn't expecting the slap that followed after that. I stumbled, hitting the edge of the table, pain shooting up my body from the impact. Before I could say another word, he was strangling my neck while he warned me. As I struggled to breathe. The last thing I heard before he kicked me and slammed the door was, don't you ever talk to me like that, Nina. You don't want to see the other side of me. I sat there trembling in pain, shocked at the Marcus I no longer recognized. In the following months, if he wasn't repeating the abuse with his hands, it was with his words. He ensured to make me shrink daily, but I kept on being a dutiful wife. That was until he served me divorce papers. I was shocked when he slid it across the kitchen table, like they were nothing. Sign here, Marcus said, and don't try asking for anything I'm not willing to give in court. I have the money to hire better lawyers, and I'll make sure you lose. After everything we had built together? I had covered the cracks very well. How do we even break the news to the kids? Are you sure, Marcus? I waited for some hesitation. I'm done, Nina. I don't love you anymore. I don't want to keep punishing you or myself. I swallowed hard. So what exactly are you offering? The kids will be taken care of, that's it. He said in a final tone. And me? I asked. Perhaps it's time you got useful for yourself. I've already given you more than you deserve. Pain clawed through me, twisting my chest. There had dawned on me that he has gotten used to walking over me and expects to always get away with it. But Marcus didn't know that I had sharpened my weapon long ago, but emotions had blinded me from using it. So I kept the divorce papers aside and went to work with the evidence I gathered from stealing his phone one morning, as he hurriedly prepared for work. Weeks passed and Marcus began looking drained and dry. Some mornings, his eyes followed me with something unspoken, as if he wanted to talk but couldn't. He even stopped pestering me to sign the papers, and I knew why. It was satisfying to know that I had the upper hand, for the first time. 6 months later, I signed the divorce papers. I didn't care that his world was crumbling. He tried to stall, he begged, he pulled every trick he could think of, but I had my father on my side, and with his support, I dragged Marcus to court. It was brutal and glorious. I presented every scrap of proof I gathered from the timeline of his abuse. He was shocked that I documented it, and when the judge made the ruling, it hit him like a hammer. 50% of everything he owned, every single thing we had built together, awarded to me. Plus a monthly child support that will be reviewed as the year went by, based on his earnings. Marcus went red with fury. he tried to argue but nothing worked. All his money and lawyers, I could match it 2 toes ahead now. What no one knew was that I had been responsible for sending his world crashing. I had been blackmailing him anonymously over a long-buried sin, demanding money and assets. You see, Marcus mistakenly hit a girl years ago and she died on the spot, so his best friend helped him cover it up. I came across their chat when I still had access to his phone, but never questioned him because I understood his fear. Plus, love didn't allow me to expose him. So I got all the old chats and voice notes that he sent in desperation, and kept them handy in case he tried denying it. But I didn't want to do it in a way that would also affect my kids, so I did it through a woman named Kate. She was so brilliant in tech and knew the right people to engage, who knew how to erase traces of anything leading to me. She had everything done for a token because her sister's husband had her killed in domestic violence years ago, and she seized every opportunity to defend anyone in those shoes. She was also kind enough to put me through on how to invest and manage my new wealth better. So by the time I walked into that court, I had already taken my pound of flesh. Every other thing was to openly snatch the shots he once bragged about calling. Now, I have everything I need, even though my kids have questions, but they will adjust later. My future now looks promising. The house was sold and I got my own share. Therapy is going well and my tickets are booked for vacation. Marcus could rebuild or collapse, it wasn't my concern anymore. I have already taken what rightfully belongs to me. Thank you guys for watching, please like and subscribe. I will catch you guys later in the comments.